my perspective after my military service changed in a loss of innocence. I grew up on John Wayne and Audie Murphy and the glory of war. And after being involved in a war, I realized how repugnant it is. How 49 million or 49,000 Americans are dead. Probably 1 million or so Vietnamese are dead. To prevent something from happening that's happened. The bright and shining lie is what I call it. We did all that for nothing.
Before I was in the military, I was a college student, just looking forward to getting out of college, making a lot of money, enjoying life, buying all the luxuries in life. And after I got done with college, I decided to enlist in the military. And I ended up deploying overseas, and I saw all this poverty in these third world countries, and it gave me a better perspective on helping other people out. So when I was overseas, I mean, I was more than willing to have stuff sent from the US over to Afghanistan for me to donate to little kids. So I gave out a lot of pens, pencils, paper so they could go to school and be able to write. Brought in a lot of candy from the US so they were able to have a snack for doing the right things.
Military showed me that the life doesn't have to be so negative all the time. By having that positive outlook, life can be a lot better. Rather, if it was raining all the time while I was out in the field, I didn't have to make it a miserable time for me. I could just, I don't know, think of it as kind of fun and not think of it such a bad time. And I've kind of brought that back to my civilian life, and it's really applied to even studying in school right now, where I know staying up all night kind of studying is horrible, but I learned to it has an outcome now that I understand, and it's not this negative outlook that I used to have growing up.
My time serving opened my eyes to a lot of things that you don't see in Fishbowl, USA. The things that we deal with here on our own soil, in many ways, are minuscule to what other countries are dealing with. We're quite unique in our ability to have a country where we have a lot of things to worry about, but not nearly as much as other countries.
What happened to me in the military that affects how I do things day to day, I was not a combat infantryman. I was a military policeman. And as a result of that, we were all over doing police work, basically. One day I had the opportunity to arrest a guy who was driving drunk, driving a 10-ton truck drunk. He was on his way to Long Bend, and he said, "I've got to get there, I'm going home." And the most important word to me was home. I disregarded everything else. He drove up the road, and as he came into Cholon driving too fast, in an urban condition with a lot of pedestrians, he ran over 10 people, one of which was a young lady holding a small baby. When my first grandson was born, the first time I held him, I flashed back to that other moment. Seeing young women holding small babies really affect me to this day.
The time that I got injured in combat, it gave me a full perspective on the dangers in life and the importance of staying focused and doing what you're supposed to. And because of all my training and hard work, I was able to survive the situation. But I use that same skills to this day with all my schooling and work to help better myself. So I'm a lot more focused and driven.
So the influence of my leadership, my lieutenants, platoon sergeants, and their outlooks is really, and the people around me, so that kind of that melting pot of people around the nation kind of coming together in the military is kind of where I got my influence. So kind of striving to be a better person for somebody else and not disappointing my leadership and putting me in those roles where I need to step up and kind of take pride in myself.
What I realize about military service that most people don't is you're a veteran the rest of your life. And the things that you saw and did are going to be with you the rest of your life. And it changes you. You have a totally different outlook on life. Probably very, very cynical, angry. Physical problems from that service.
As a whole, I think America does a very is a very unique place and overall a good place. But the things that we look at and take for granted are minuscule. I mean, we have a really good, America as a whole has a really good job of keeping its blinders on and only focusing on minute details, and as a whole I don't think people are grateful for what they get.
So the major perspectives that have changed for me since serving overseas in a combat zone would be just truly humbling yourself to help out those in need versus just going on with life and ignoring those people in need and feeling better about yourself. So I totally humble myself nowadays, and I'm more than willing to help out people in need versus just turn the corner and just leave them there.
Veterans Day to me comes across as a nice gesture. It's nice to be recognized, but at the same time, what am I being recognized for? What level does that mean? And the big thing, it's a big deal now. It wasn't when we were younger. As Iraq and Afghanistan fade away into the distance, it's going to turn into any other holiday where it's, people are more excited to have the day off than they are for the real reason behind it.
I think it means a lot to the veterans in the veterans community, but not so much in the civilian side or civilian community, because we understand that the sacrifices the service members have to go through overseas while they're in the military from their families, and I don't think the civilian side understands the sacrifices that a lot of the military and their family members have to make.
So Veterans Day means a lot to me. My family has fought in every war since the Civil War, so it's a big deal for my family, and I was brought up that way. But we mainly paid attention to the military aspect of the United States. And after serving overseas and being in combat, I have a bigger respect for everybody that has been in combat. And I not only pay respect to U.S. soldiers that have fallen, but soldiers from all over the world that were willing to give their lives to protect what they believe is right.
Veterans Day means to me an overwhelming sadness. I don't think of Veterans Day coming up in a couple days. I think the Veterans Day that I became a veteran and what it meant. Being called a baby killer. Coming back to find out your job is no longer there. Coming back to double-digit inflation, high unemployment, anti-war demonstrations, and pretty much being rejected by your friends. That's what it meant to me. Veterans Day today reminds me of those times. Thinking about this today, the nightmares were there. Remembering things that happened, that's what it means to me.
The big thing for me right now is I just want to say thank you for all the guys that are still serving, and I'm just hoping that their families are supporting them and are able to get them the stuff they need while they're overseas. And it's a big thing, so everybody needs to play a little role to help out the veterans that are still serving.